Very, hello, very good evening to you. And it's not Grim Duffy tonight. It's the Becker looking one. No, I'm only kidding. It's Michael McTune back in the hot seat again. Thanks for Grim Duffy for covering the past few weeks. It's been wonderful to listen to, better than me actually, and that's no very difficult. So you're listening to Indie Live Radio and independent live. You can watch us as well. We are going out on Facebook Live as well tonight, so you can comment on whatever we are going to be speaking about between now and 7 o'clock, and also you can comment on the old Twitter at the Locker Room Indie as well. Graham, how's it going?
I'm good, mate. Glad to have you back. But now I can just kick back, relax, and I can let you take over.
Yeah. What's that in your hand? A cigar? Maybe. Yeah, so it's nice to be back. It's been a few weeks. But I was saying to you beforehand, Graham, it feels like 4 weeks, like 5 weeks or whatever. But yeah, so I came back at the end of the season. That's really because there's only one set of games left tomorrow and Sunday, and then we're off. Well, we're not off, but we've actually got one more show coming up with the Scottish Cup with Rangers and the Mighty Hearts, and also we've got a Scotland game coming up as well. But more news coming up very very soon about that. Yeah, so comment on the video, comment on Facebook Live, and comment on Twitter. We're here until 7 o'clock here on Indie Live, Radio and Independence Live. Mike McTune and Graham Duffy. Right, that's enough of the nonsense then. Getting with the show. And there was a few games during the week, Graham. And if we go back to Tuesday night, nobody predicted this score, didn't they? But it was a wee bit too late for Mark McGee and this players. Dundee 3, Hibs 1.
Yeah, I don't think anyone could have seen that coming. I mean, as poor as Hibs have been, you really couldn't have imagined that they would go to Dundee and get beat by a Dundee side that is basically relegated. It was a massive surprise. Mark McGee's first win as Dundee manager, and it's too little too late. But from what I saw, they did deserve it. They were the better side. Hibs, they had a couple of decent chances, but once Dundee went 2-1 up, it was pretty much they were going to win that game. Hibs just again, I mean, I don't know what it is with Hibs just now. They seem to lack, whether it's a lack of confidence, whether it's a lack of motivation because the season's done. You need a manager. I don't know. But if you're Mark McGee, you must be thinking, where's that been for the last few weeks? Where's that desire and attitude been? They've really lacked that. But I just say it's too little too late. They've won the game, but it didn't matter because the next day they were condemned to relegation when St Johnstone beat Aberdeen. So it's a massive, massive blow for Dundee. And for me, I think I said this last week, Hibs and Aberdeen are going to have massive rebuilding jobs coming this summer.
Am I being a bit unfair? And obviously, Hibs fans can criticise me through the comments because I like a bit of criticism now and again. But does that show you how bad Hibs has been if the bottom of the team can beat them?
I've got a couple of Hibs mates that basically said the same thing. It's one of these things that a team that basically has nothing to play for. I mean, to be fair, Dundee didn't have anything to play for either because they were down anyway. But Dundee seemed to show a bit more of a lack of desire and a lack of kind of commitment that was kind of missing from Hibs. And I mean, Hibs really lack a manager. They are desperate for a new manager to come in. Again, I spoke about this before. The fact that they sold Martin Boyle and didn't replace him was a massive blow. Defenders hate playing as players with pace, and Martin Boyle had that in abundance, and they never replaced that. Obviously, it's a massive blow that they haven't had Christian Deutsch and Kevin Nisbet who've been out, so they've not had anyone to score the goals. James Scott scored a decent goal on Tuesday, but again, he's not really a natural goal scorer. So Hibs need a massive rebuild come this summer. I think, for me, I spoke about before, I think Sylvester Jasper's a good player. I think he's creative, but, is he what Hibs really need? Elias Merkerson up front, again, is he going to score enough goals for Hibs? I don't think so. So they really need somebody to come in now and, you know, see what he's got to work with. Any potential manager watching that game on Tuesday will be thinking, I've got a massive job here. You know, what am I going to do come the summer? There's been a few more names banded about. I saw John Dahl Tomasson was mentioned earlier. We all know that Roy Keane's pulled out. So whoever gets that Hibs manager's job, we said last week again on the show that they've got a massive, massive rebuild. And I think to lose to the team that's bottom of the league, that's basically been relegated, it's a huge blow for Hibs. It really is.
Do you think any Hibs fans would take Tony Mowbray back?
Possibly. I mean, Tony Mowbray did a decent job. There's no doubt about that. But, you know, would they be looking for a bit better? I don't know. I think I saw during the week they've got a short list of 4. I think Lee Johnson's on the list. I think Carl Robinson's on the list. And there was somebody else on the list as well. But they need to get somebody in as soon as possible because they need to, you know, again, last week I spoke about the fact that for me, a new manager needs at least 2 or 3 transfer windows to sort out the problems that they've got. So whoever comes into that Hibs job is going to have to get at least 2 or 3 windows to get the players he wants, get his philosophy over. I mean, I don't know who's going to get that job. I really don't. I said before I would have loved Roy Keane to come in. It's not going to happen now. Box office. But whoever comes in is going to have a lot of work to do come the summer. And, you know, if you're Hibs and Aberdeen as well, I say this as well, you need to be up there challenging Hearts, United, Motherwell for that top 3, top 4 next season. And at the moment, they are quite a bit off it.
So where has it went wrong for Hibs? I don't mean this season, but obviously the last couple of seasons, because it's never kind of appointed a manager where most Hibs fans would say, yeah, he was a brilliant manager. And I suppose like when Sean Maloney came in, and obviously he was at Belgium with Benitez, the assistant manager, everybody said, well, yeah. And they got off to a good start. I think he got like 6 points at the first 2 games or whatever. And then after that, I went all downhill. I mean, I even go back to the about the Scottish Cup game. I think we were on air that night, or I think it was the Scottish Cup was on the first night and we came on the Friday night. And was it Peterhead they were playing?
Hibs played Arbroath in the cup.
No, this was
Dundee.
No, this was in the earlier rounds.
Or was it?
Eastgate Road.
No, it was Cove Rangers.
Aye, right, okay. And obviously, you know, a win's a win, but I mean, I'll go back to that performance because that performance was rubbish.
Yeah, I will just say as well, Gordon McIntosh says, hi guys, hope you're all good. We're all good, Gordon, and thank you again for watching us. It's always appreciated. I mean, I think they got rid of Jack Ross, and a lot of Hibs fans like Jack Ross, and I can understand why. He did a good job. We got them to cup finals. They couldn't quite get over the line, but, you know, they were a decent side under Jack Ross. And then you appoint a guy that, you know, James said it last week, sometimes very good players don't make good managers. And I think a lot of folk thought Maloney will come in. And, you know, with his links with the Belgian national team, you know, he's got that philosophy, and it didn't work. You know, he signed players that didn't really work out. I could see what he was trying to do. He was trying to build from the back. He was trying to play good football. But I'm sorry, you can't play good football with guys like Rocky Bashir at the back because he's not good enough. And I think they just, I mean, again, I've said this before as well, that it doesn't matter, unless you're Celtic or Rangers, you know, you're never going to be in that relegation trouble. Any other team can have a bad run and you can find yourself in the bottom of the league. And Hibs have had that now. They've had a really bad run and they've found it difficult to get out of it. And unfortunately for Sean Maloney, it just didn't work. You know, he managed to get to semi-final, and I thought, to be fair, after they went 2-0 down, I thought this could be an absolute hammer in here. But they get the goal back straight away. And after that, I thought Hibs did quite well. You know, they pressed us, they performed really well. Even going down to 10 men, I thought, Hibs are really up for this. Now, if Ryan Poacher scores that header, it might be a different game. Hibs might go on to win that game because they were the better side, even with 10 men, but they didn't. But they played well. And then I thought, I can see signs of, you know, Sean Maloney kind of doing a good job here. And then a few days later, they sacked. So again, he didn't get enough time to get his philosophy over. I think he needed a transfer window in the summer. He needed a longer time with the team. But, you know, owners now, owners are very, very quick to get rid of the player, to get rid of the managers. Again, something I spoke about last week as well. And it's just not worked out for them. And I think whoever comes in and out of that Hibs job needs to get a decent transfer window, needs at least 2 or 3 windows to get it right. But it's been a very, very poor season for Hibs. And listen, as a Hearts fan, I'm delighted that they're below us. But the one thing I would say is I don't think Hibs can be any worse next season. They have to be better than that. And again, recruitment's a massive thing. Whoever comes in has to sign the right players. And I think Hibs will be better next season. As long as they're not better than Hearts, that's fine. But I think they will be better next season because they can't be any worse.
I don't think Graham was being biased. I think he was just being on, or maybe he was being biased. But yeah, I mean, I totally agree with you, Graham, because finishing bottom 6 and getting knocked out the Scottish Cup by your beloved Hearts is a complete disaster for Hibs this season. Let's move on to speaking about Dundee then. The other side, Dundee won by 3 goals to 1. A bit late for Dundee. Mark McGee got his first win. That's hard to believe, Graham. And he's been in the job for 12 games or whatever. And he's got his first win, but too little, too late.
Yeah, hi to Conrad Pemman as well. Thank you for joining us, mate. It's good to see you. Yeah, I mean, I hope there was no mobile phones getting planted in Mark McGee's face the other night, but then again, he might have enjoyed that because he won the game. But again, it's just been a disappointing season. I think James McPake, there was a lot of Dundee fans didn't really rate him, but he was doing a decent job. Would they have still been relegated if he'd been in charge? Probably. But you look at it, the fact that, Dundee went to Tynecastle, they won 2-1, a game that we were absolutely awful in, but fair play to Dundee. And then they beat Peterhead, and you think McPake's getting a bit of momentum up here, and then again, they sack him. And again, the Mark McGee thing, we spoke about this when it happened. It was like the old pals act, Gordon Strachan Napoleon, his mate, and it just didn't work. Dundee just went from one disaster after another.
I suppose you could say the same about when I was speaking to you about Hibs, about Sean Maloney, and everybody said that, yeah, brilliant appointment, but I suppose that you could say the same thing about Dundee as well.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, you probably watched it more than I did, but you watched Dundee at Celtic Park when they got beat 3-2, and there were signs of kind of, they didn't get hammered. They played okay. Now, okay, Celtic got a better side, but they played okay, and you think maybe Mark McGee could get something out of this team, and then it just went downhill from there. They just couldn't stop conceding goals. They couldn't score goals. And then, I mean, I don't know if there's a lot of folk talk about, has there been a fallout with Charlie Adam? Because there's a lot of things said in the press by Mark McGee about Charlie Adam. And again, this is something as well that when Mark McGee first came in, the first thing he said was, I don't know who my captain is.
Yeah.
I mean, how can you not know who your captain is when you come to a new job? So
I mean, obviously you do your research before you get the job, Grim.
Yeah, exactly. So straight away you're thinking, okay, that's not a good sign. You don't know who your captain is. And then it just went downhill. But I mean, I think again, the Championship is a very difficult league to get out of. When you look at the teams that are in there next season. So I think Dundee are going to really struggle to get back up again. They could potentially, depending on who wins the playoff, St. Johnstone could be in there as well. And that is a very hard league to get out of. So, I mean, I think Mark McGee, I don't think he'll be there next season. I think somebody else will be in charge, but I don't know who. But it hasn't worked. Mark McGee's he's not really done enough to keep Dundee up. And I think they're going to struggle next season. I really do.
Is that a bit fair of me to say, Graham, that when he came in, when they did the press conferences and all that, whether it was before the game or after the game, it kind of doesn't look interested. It's like, what am I doing here?
Again, it's that whole jobs for the boys thing. He's come in and, I mean, I'm assuming his remit was to try and stay up. And let's be honest, he's failed miserably. He's only won one game, and it was a game that in the end didn't matter because they were going down anyway. He's just had that kind of thought of, we're going to go down. It doesn't really matter what I do, what I say. I'm not going to be here. I'm not going to be here anyway, so it doesn't matter. And I just think it's been a really poor season again for Dundee. And I mean, I think James McPake for me probably deserved a little bit longer. As I say, would they have kept Dundee up? I don't know, but I think you could see that the Dundee players were playing for James McPake. I don't really get that feeling under Mark McGee. I think, listen, I might be harsh here, But I think a lot of those Dundee players are down tools under McGee.
No, you might be right. And another thing that we said on the show as well, Graham, and I might sound an old broken record here when I say this, but Dundee had quite a good team. They had like Lee Griffiths, Charlie Haggam, Jason Cummins, and Paul McGowan. Okay, he's been about Dundee for years, but he can still get a job. And you're thinking, well, yeah, Dundee might make the top 6, but it's all been a complete disaster from start to finish for Dundee.
It has been. I mean, I think you talk about the players that you've got there, and they had a lot of experience in that team, and you think, right, this might be enough to get them over the line, but it hasn't worked. We talk. I don't know how many times we talked about Lee Griffiths. I mean, that boy just could not get himself fit. It was like at times he wasn't interested. His head was in the wrong place. You look at Jason Cummings, who went to Australia and is actually scoring goals in the Australian League. I don't know if that says more about how bad the Australian League is. I don't know. But again, it hasn't worked out. You mentioned Paul McGowan again. He's a very experienced player, a very good player, but he's not done enough. Another player that I really like for Dundee is Paul McMullen. I think he's a very good player. But again, they've just not got enough out those experienced players. And again, Charlie Adam, I keep coming back to it, but Charlie Adam, 1 week he's moaning about Lewis Ferguson, and the next week he's doing the most ridiculous dive I've ever seen in my life. I mean, that was a 10 out of 10.
And they Dundee got Niall McGinn as well. So, there you go. Perfectly good play. It was with Celtic for a few seasons and then Aberdeen as well.
And Niall McGinn scored on Tuesday as well. I mean, again, they've really failed their club. They've failed their management. They've just not done enough. And I think, listen, managers always get the blame, but I think I look at the players and I think, could you look at yourself in the mirror and say, could I have done a bit more? And I think a lot of Dundee players will think, well, probably, yeah, I could. And they've not done enough. And again, like I said, that championship next season is going to be a very hard league to get out of. Hearts came out of it, but we had a better squad, but it was a struggle. I'm not going to lie, it was a struggle. But can Dundee come out of that league again? It'll be very, very tough. And I think a lot of those players that you've just mentioned might not be there next season. So again, that's a rebuilding job for Dundee as well.
Okay, so let's go on to speak about your favourite team, apart from Hibs. No, I'm on the kick. Motherwell against Hearts, 2-1. Hearts get beaten Wednesday night. I never saw the game. I take it you saw the game on Wednesday. What was your take on that 90 minutes and the player of the year, Craig Gordon, as well?
Do you know what? It was a game that didn't matter, right? But I knew as soon as I saw the team and I saw that Ross Stewart was in goal, not the Sunderland one, obviously, but when I saw that Ross Stewart was in goal, I thought we're going to get beat because Ross Stewart is a terrible goalkeeper. He's played 6 games for Hearts and he's conceded 12 goals. We've not won a game and he's played. And the first goal is his mistake. It's a really poor goalkeeping error. But to be fair, for the rest of the first half, I thought Hearts were actually very good. We played some really good stuff. We looked really decent. The only thing that was missing was a lead. I thought Josh Ginnelly looked decent. Ben Woodburn and Gary Mackay-Steven, who I have criticised numerous times, actually put in a shift. Maybe a little bit too little, too late because the season's done. But they put in a shift. And in the second half, again, we lose our sloppy goal from a set piece, but we played okay. But now, for me, it's all about, giving players I think tomorrow the game against Rangers is a chance for players to maybe stake that final claim for the cup final place next week. I put on Twitter earlier on tonight that I think Robin Nielsen probably has the cup final team in his head, but tomorrow's a chance for certain players to maybe stake a claim for the final. But I thought we played okay against Motherwell. I was actually quite pleased with the performance, and a lot of players actually played quite well. But again, it's a nothing game. It doesn't mean anything. If you look at Motherwell, though, until last weekend, they'd only won 1 game this year. They've now won 2 in a row, and they're in Europe. It's mental. I don't know how they've done it, but fair play to Motherwell. Honestly, it's unbelievable.
It's quite a weird season, actually, because again, we spoke about this on the show. Like, you think a team like Hibs, Aberdeen, or like Motherwell's in the top 6, but they've made Europe and they've just won 1 game this season. But the kind of top teams with outsides, you would say Celtic and Rangers are in the bottom 6. and then the bottom 6 teams and the top 6, if that makes sense. So, I mean, look at St Johnstone.
Yeah, I mean, Motherwell are a very weird team. They'd be very, very up and down. I think we spoke about this before, that like when they got rid of Tony Watt, they didn't really replace him. You're looking at a guy like Kevin Van Veen. Kevin Van Veen's a good player, but he's had to do too much himself. And, as I said, they hadn't won a game until last week, and now they've won 2 in a row, and they found themselves in European football. So there was a lot of Motherwell fans wanting Graham Alexander out. I wouldn't have thought they still do now. They're in European football, which is brilliant. But they've been a very weird team this season. There's a lot of inconsistencies there. They've not really had that run of games where they've like won 3 or 4 on a bounce. But now they've won 2 in a row. Fair play to Motherwell. Very, very good season in the end. But I look at Hearts and I just think, it's been a fantastic season for me for Hearts. It's been brilliant. I wasn't really that bothered about Tuesday night. Wednesday night, would I like to win? Yeah, of course I would have done, to keep a bit of momentum going for the cup final. But even like tomorrow, I'm not really that fussed. It's all about the cup final for me now, keeping players, ticking over. For me, if I'm Robbie, I'm probably resting a few players tomorrow, i.e. Barry Mackay, Liam Boyce, give them a chance to get a rest for next Saturday. So I think tomorrow's one of these games that I know we'll get touched on it later, but it's about giving players a run that maybe haven't played a lot. Now, I know I was asked this on Twitter a couple of days ago. Would I play John Souttar in the cup final because he's going to Rangers? And I said, yes, I would. And I still believe in that. While he's still contracted to Hearts, he's one of our best defenders. And if he's fit, he starts the cup final for me. There's absolutely no doubt about that. And I think tomorrow might be a chance to give him some minutes. I wouldn't start him, but I might give him like the last half hour just to give him a run out. Same with like Cammy Devlin, Michael Smith. It's all about getting fitness in the legs for next week and that cup final, which is going to be a massive game. And I personally cannot wait to get the hand in next week and have a party, hopefully.
Let's speak about the player of the year, the rightest player of the year, Craig Gordon. That guy just gets better and better by the week, Graham.
Oh, what a man, honestly. What can I say? He's not only just a brilliant goalkeeper, he's very handsome. I wish I was as handsome as that, but we can't have it all. But honestly, he's just...
No comment.
Even my wife doesn't think that. But no, I mean, I think, to be fair, he's been absolutely phenomenal this season. And, a lot of the saves that he makes, a lot of folk think that's just routine. And for Craig Gordon, it is. But for other goalkeepers, it's just a magnificent save. But he's been brilliant. He is a massive part of the reason why we're third in the league. Some of the saves he's made have been absolutely phenomenal. And I touched on it earlier. That cup semi-final against Hibs, that save from Ryan Porteous.
Yeah.
I couldn't see it at the time. I thought that Porteous had missed it. It wasn't until I got home and saw the highlights later I realised that Gordon had saved that, and I thought, what a save that is, by the way. He's been absolutely brilliant. I think Celtic's loss is our gain. I can't believe I'm actually pleased that Celtic got rid of somebody, but giving us Craig Gordon was brilliant because honestly, what a difference having a great goalkeeper makes. You need a quality goalkeeper. And, Celtic have got that with Joe Hart. Rangers have got that with Alec McGregor. We've absolutely got that with Craig Gordon because he's been fantastic and he's probably saved us a number of points this season. I'll go back to a couple of games this season. Livingston away. First half, we were absolutely pummeled. Livingston should have got something out of that game. But Craig Gordon makes a triple save. And then we win the game 1-0 because of that. Things like that make such a difference. Having a top-class goalkeeper. And he's 39 now. But, like a fine wine, he gets better with age. And he's just been he's just phenomenal. He's honestly so good.
One of your, James Lindsay, in the comments on YouTube, Watson, thanks for your comment, James. He's a great goalkeeper. I don't know if he meant great goalkeeper or Graham is great looking on the camera. I'm not actually sure.
It's not the second one, that's for sure.
Yeah, well, maybe not the first one either, but yeah, you can clarify that. But don't forget, you can comment on Facebook and YouTube as well. And you're listening to or watching the Locker Room on Indie Live and Independence Live with Michael and Graham until 7 o'clock tonight. We're just going through the games on Wednesday night, and there was a game at Ibrox. I never saw any of the goals actually during the week. but Rangers 4, St John, Rangers 4, Ross County 1. This game looked as though Rangers were easing through the game, Graham.
I'll be honest, I didn't watch the game. I was obviously watching the Hearts game at the same time. And I'll be honest, it was no surprise when I saw Rangers penalty coming through on my scoreboard. But
now, play nice.
Sorry, I can't help it. But no, I mean, to be fair, Rangers are playing with a lot of confidence. You know, they're in a European Cup final. They knew that the league was done. They could play with their freedom, and I think they did. And to be fair, for Ross County, you know, that game didn't matter. It's been a fantastic season for Malky Mackay. You know, they've done a really good job, so that game didn't matter. But I think for Rangers, yeah, it was a comfortable win in the end. And now for them, it's all about preparing. Really, okay, they've got the game tomorrow, but I'll be honest, I don't think Rangers are going to play anywhere near a full-strength team against Hearts tomorrow because they've got that massive game on Wednesday, and that's all it's all about. And I've said before on the show, and I might be biased here, but I'll say it anyway. I hope Rangers' game on Wednesday goes all the way to penalties so that the players are knackered for the cup final next week, and Hearts can run out cup final winners.
Yeah, well, there you go. You've heard Graham's prediction for the game on Wednesday night. So yeah, I mean, I look as though, but yeah, I mean, Rangers are kind of like counting down the games now until that big game in the UEFA Cup final. I think very old, the Europa Cup final on Wednesday night, and what an achievement it is for another Scottish team to make the final.
Yeah, I mean, all jokes aside, you have to say Rangers have been absolutely brilliant European football. Their form in Europe, we've said this again, their form in Europe is very different to the form in the league. It's been very patchy in the league, but in European football, they've been absolutely sensational. You know, you go back to that Borussia Dortmund game and you think, are they going to really beat that Dortmund side? And to go to Germany and score 4 goals, and they were brilliant that night. And then they come back to Ibrox and they beat them again. And you think, this is impressive. Can they do this again? And they just keep going from strength to strength. And they beat Leipzig as well, who are a very good side. And to beat them over 2 legs as well, you know, fair play to them. It's been a fantastic achievement. And I think they will go into that game against Eintracht Frankfurt and think, we can win this now. You know, there's nobody we fear. So it's a huge achievement. And I think for the coefficient as well, if they win it, absolutely fantastic. But I said, I mean, it's been a fantastic run. And I don't think any Rangers fan probably could have expected that once Steven Gerrard left and Van Bronckhorst came in. You know, again, we spoke about the fact that when Van Bronckhorst came in, the first thing I had to deal with was the fact that his captain came out after they got beat by Hibs in the semi-final and said, we lack hunger. Yeah. Well, I think they've got that back now. You know, they're in the European final, they're in the Scottish Cup final, so they've got that back. And there's absolutely no reason that Rangers won't go there thinking, we can win this. I think there's every chance they can.
Moving on to St Johnstone and Aberdeen, that's what I'm talking about, Graham. You know, that was a top 6 game last season. Now it's a bottom 6 game this season. But the two teams have been woeful, and that's me putting it politely. I mean, you think of St Johnstone winning the double last season, and they went to Ibrox and beat Rangers, and I think it was extra time. I think it was a goalkeeper score, actually. And then, you know, night and day compared to last season to this season.
Yeah, we'll touch on Aberdeen in a minute, but for St Johnstone, it's just been, again, like I said, it's one of these seasons that it can happen to anyone. If you get a run of games that you can't win, you get stuck in a rut. And unfortunately for St Johnstone, that's what they had. They just couldn't win. They couldn't find a win. They did lose some big players as well. And obviously, I mean, the European games as well, you know, they competed okay in those, but it was just a bit too much for them. And then the league forms just really, really dipped badly. They've had a real struggle. And unfortunately, you know, to go from the high of double cup winners and top 6 football to where they are now, it's crazy, but that's what can happen. You know, that's why we love football, because you can get this kind of thing that happens. And, you know, if you'd said start of the season that Callum Davidson, St Johnstone fans would be saying Callum Davidson has to go, you've been thinking, are you off your head? The guy's won you a cup double. St Johnstone have won a cup double. But it's just one of these things, you know, results. It's a results business, and they've not been getting them. And I think, unfortunately, for St Johnstone, it's been a very poor season. But on the other side of that, they can still stay up. they'll play either Arbroath or Inverness, and you've got to think that they would think they can win that. And again, the second leg is always set up for the Premier League side because they're at home.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I know we'll touch on it later, but if you're Arbroath and Inverness, you'll be thinking, we can beat St Johnstone over 2 legs. We can beat them. So it's a massive couple of games to come up for St Johnstone. I think tomorrow, again, it's not really going to make a lot of difference, that game on Sunday. I know we'll touch on that again, but again, I mean, you look at Aberdeen. I spoke about this with Dave last week, and again, it's just been such a poor season. I mean, I don't know where it's gone wrong. Stephen Glass was a poor appointment. I think there's no doubt about that. Again, you can see what he was trying to do at times, but it just didn't work. The signings didn't really work out. They brought in J. Emmanuel Thomas, who I thought might be a good player, but it just didn't work out. And then, you got Dave Cormack coming radio backing his manager, which is fine. That's what owners do. But it just didn't work out. And then they sacked Stephen Glass, and Jim Goodwin hasn't had a transfer window. And again, it's not worked out. I have said this before, I think Goodwin's a good manager, and I think he will get it right. But he's going to need, the same as Hibs, he will need at least 2 or 3 windows to get it sorted out. But I said this again on the show last week or the week before. Hibs and Aberdeen should not be in bottom 6 football. They should be challenging at the top for European football. But it's been such a poor season. Last week we're talking about Hibs v Aberdeen in the league, and it's a bottom 6 fixture. That shouldn't be the case, but both those teams need a massive, massive rebuild. And if you're a Hibs or Aberdeen fan watching this just now, what do you think your teams need next season in terms of recruitment? Because that, for me, is going to be a massive thing. Both teams need massive clear-outs and massive recruitment, because they can't have another season like this because it's been so poor.
So that's a good question, Graham. So you can comment on Facebook or YouTube, or you can get us on Twitter at Locker Room Indie. But yeah, I mean, you were saying about Aberdeen. Would you put like Hibs into that bracket and maybe Dundee to a certain extent in terms of big teams at the beginning of the season that had big kind of targets, maybe to make the top 6, having a good run in the cup? And it's just not happening this season. And I suppose when Aberdeen brought Scott Brown, and that's not the answer, because we know that Scott Brown's getting on and but he just brings that experience with him. But it didn't happen.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the signings that Aberdeen made, and I thought Scott Brown would be a really big signing for them. That leadership that he's got, the qualities he's got. But it didn't work out. And to be fair, I think a lot of that was the players around him just maybe weren't good enough. I think him and Lewis Ferguson in midfield were actually all right. But for me, defensively, Aberdeen just looked very suspect. I'm not a massive fan of Declan Gallagher or David Bates. I don't think they're good enough for Aberdeen. But, I mean, I watched Aberdeen first game of the season against Dundee United, and they looked all right. I thought, okay, it's the first game of the season, but they looked decent. And I watched them at Tynecastle against Hearts, and they drew 1-1. And again, I thought they looked all right. But they just had a run where they just couldn't win. They weren't picking up results. And again, they went to Ibrox. They were 2-0 up, and they drew 2-2, and you think, Aberdeen look a decent side here. But it just didn't material. They didn't do enough. And I think Aberdeen, for a team like Aberdeen, we all know how big Aberdeen are. They should not be where they are now. They should be fighting for European football. They should be fighting for the challenge and for the title, the same as Hibs. And again, you look at that Hibs team and you think, I mean, any new manager coming out of that team is like, I look at that Hibs team and I think, how many of that Hibs team? I'm saying this biased here, right? How many of that Hibs team would I take in the Hearts team? I wouldn't take any of them, if I'm honest. Potentially Kevin Nisbet, but that's about it. They don't have enough in that team for me. And I think for me, they've got a massive rebuild. Both of them have, because Hibs and Aberdeen cannot be in that position again next season. They should be fighting for top 3, top 4 with Hearts, United, Motherwell, but it's just been such a poor season.
Do you think it's embarrassing for Scottish football?
That's a tough question.
That's my job.
That's such a hard question. It potentially is. You look at Hibs and Aberdeen, you think they are massive clubs. You look at the fan base they've got. You look at stadiums they've got.
Mm.
And they are massive, massive clubs. But for some reason, it's not worked out. I do think that, in terms of Sean Maloney, I'm not saying this to be funny, but I think he should have been given longer. I think I could see what he's trying to do. I could see a philosophy that he wanted, but it just didn't work out. And I think I felt sorry for him. I'll be honest. I felt sorry because I said after the semi-final, I thought Hibs played well. I thought they looked really decent. And I thought, right, Maloney's got something to build on here. The players are trying for him. And then to be sacked a few days later, I thought that was very, very harsh. So I think any new manager coming into that Hibs team has got a really big job coming up in the summer. But I said before, and I'll say it again, they cannot be any worse next season. And I'll say the same for Aberdeen. I don't think they can be any worse next season. And I'm going to put a comment in here as well. Anybody again can comment on this because I put this out on Twitter. But does anybody think that anybody outside of Celtic and Rangers can ever win the Premier League? Because we've obviously got we've got about 40 years of history that tells us no, that can't happen. But you look at Leicester City in the English Premiership, they managed to break that cycle a while ago. So I'm asking the question for anybody watching this, anybody listening, and comment on Twitter, comment on Facebook, comment wherever you want. Do you think that anybody else outside of Celtic and Rangers can win the Premier League?
That's a good question, yeah. And I suppose that if it was going on this season for them, they would say maybe Hearts. And I'm not just saying because you're here, but maybe it's a bit unfair because it's Hearts' first season back in the Big Boys League. But I'm going on the season that they've had, Graham.
I mean, I think I go into every season, and probably every fan does, hoping that you can challenge for the title. And I think I put this out on Twitter yesterday on my own Twitter, and I got quite a lot of comments on it. I think 2005, 2006, when George Briller was in charge, I've said this before, and I will keep saying it. Now, hindsight's a great thing, but I genuinely think Hearts could have won the league that season. We had momentum. We were blowing teams away, and then unfortunately,
I don't think you would have a lot of people disagreeing with you, Glenn, because they got off to a good start. I texted you back last night because they got off to a good start.
Yeah, but I mean, I think I went to Dundee United against Hearts, one of the games in that season, and Hearts were 3-0 up in half an hour. We did that a few times that season, and I thought, we've got momentum here. And then unfortunately, we know what happened. Vladimir Romanov decided to sack George Briller, and it kind of went downhill from there. But I always maintained, and I always will maintain, that Hearts could have won the league that season. And I'm just wondering if anybody else thinks that their team could potentially win the league this season. Gordon McIntosh said yes, but it would take both Celtic and Rangers to have a real bad one at the same time. Which, that's very true. I mean, we saw what happened.
And I suppose that you would have to take the money off them as well.
Yeah, I mean, again, I gave Leicester as an example there in the Premier League, but it doesn't happen very often. But Man City, Chelsea, Man City, Liverpool had a poor season, and Leicester won the league that season. And yeah, Gordon's right. It would take Celtic Rangers to kind of tail off a little bit, and somebody else to have consistency. But I mean, I'm 43. I don't think it will ever happen personally. I would love to see it, as long as it's not Hibs. I'm not going to be biased to say I want Hibs to win it because I don't. But if somebody else was to win it, then fair enough. But I genuinely am interested to know if anybody actually thinks that somebody else could ever win the Premier League, because it's so difficult. But, it might be one of these freak occasions that something happens that, Celtic and Rangers get massive injuries or something happens. But I would love to know if anyone actually thinks it can happen.
See, that's a good question. But I suppose, I would have to, you're saying Leicester won it a couple of seasons ago, and a smaller team in the Premiership. But I suppose, you've got to say that they had lots of money as well behind them.
Yeah, they did. And, it's one of these things that the teams around them had a really poor season, and Leicester just kept going from strength to strength, and they were winning games. And they went to the Etihad and won 3-1. And, you're looking at guys like N'Golo Kante and Riyad Mahrez and Jamie Vardy. And then these guys, apart from Vardy, who's still there, but you got N'Golo Kante, who's gone on to win the titles at Chelsea and stuff. And you got Riyad Mahrez, who's won titles at Man City. These guys are going to bigger things. But I think in Scotland, listen, I'm not going to lie. I would love to see somebody winning the league just for a bit of something different. 1984-85 was the last time that anyone did it, and that was Aberdeen. And it's never happened since. A couple of clubs have been close. Hearts have done it. 1998, Hearts could have done it. But I would love to see it happen. I really would, just to have something a bit different. But I know it's very difficult. It is difficult because Celtic Rangers got the money, they've got the funds, they've got the fan base. But it would be great to see somebody, maybe not even win the league, but at least just challenge and kind of break those two. But I mean, listen, you're a Celtic fan. Would you would you like to see somebody else other than Rangers challenging Celtic for the title?
Yeah, we make it a more interesting because I feel as though like every season, okay, at the beginning of the season you're gonna have about 3 teams that say Aberdeen, right? But by Christmas they fall away, and then it falls down to Celtic and Rangers after the new year to fight out the league. And that happens it didn't happen this season, obviously, but it happens in most seasons. And I suppose like when you could make the argument saying that when Rangers were out the league, when they won the lower leagues, then Celtic was challenged against Aberdeen, but even Aberdeen fell away as well. When it was just Celtic and Aberdeen, and I suppose like a lot of fans would say, and a lot of people in the media would say that Celtic were playing teams and they were beating them 5-0, 6-0, whatever, even 2-0. But I could see the point, but you still got to beat them, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I think consistency is a massive thing. You look at like Celtic and Rangers winning pretty much every week. A team like Hearts, we'll maybe go 2 or 3 games winning and then lose a couple, and there's just not that consistency. But the thing is, next season, now I'm not saying that Hearts will challenge, I hope we do, but next season, we're going to have money coming in for the European games, and potentially as well, we're going to have money coming in for Aaron Hickey, who, if he goes to Arsenal, we get a sell-on clause. So we've got money coming in for that. So we could potentially pull away from the other clubs. Now, I'm not saying that we're going to challenge Celtic and Rangers. I hope we do, as I said. But we could potentially pull away from the other teams. And that would be, again, a massive thing. And I think next season as well, we're going to be playing like Thursday, Sunday. And that's going to be huge in our, we need, for me, Hearts need another probably 7 or 8 new players next season, because we're going to have a lot of games to play next season.
And don't forget, not that I'm kind of saying Hearts is going to make the Europa Cup. Yeah, they will, but don't forget that if they get knocked out, they'll still be in the bottom tier of Europe, but they're still in European football. So you're talking about maybe up to Christmas.
Yeah, we're going to have at least 8 games in Europe, which will be brilliant. But that, again, that's a lot of games we're going to be playing. You guys all, Celtic and Rangers fans and Celtic Rangers know this. You've got a lot of games to play, and Hearts haven't really had that before.
And that's good experience as well, Graham.
It is, but this is going to stretch the squad, and this is why I think, like, I'm talking about Hibs and Aberdeen have a massive rebuild, but Hearts, again, are going to have to sign at least 7 or 8 new players to get a bigger squad, because the squad this season has been quite thin, but it has worked because they finished third and we've got a Scottish Cup final next week, but we need a bigger squad to compete with that.
I was going to say, let's speak about the last game before we go on to Celtic, but I don't think there is a lot to speak about the St Mirren and Livingston game now. Yeah, that says it all, Graham.
No, I mean, again, I think for Livingston it's been a decent season. They kind of finished best of the rest, the bottom 6, which I think David Martindale's happy about, because I think David Martindale has always said staying up is the main aim. Now they've done that quite comfortably. I think for Livingston next season, you want to aim a bit higher than that. You want to try and get to that top 6 or even chance for European football. So it's been a decent season for them. For St Mirren, again, it's been a bit up and down. Stephen Robertson's come in and maybe not had the desired effect, but I think, again, it's going to be a case of what's St Mirren's expectation for next season. Is it, again, going to be, I know Tony Fitzpatrick spoke a while ago about, challenging for European football and stuff, but is that a realistic expectation for a team like St Mirren? I don't know. I don't think they'll be in relegation trouble. I think they'll probably be safe enough in top 6. But I think for St Mirren and Livingston, it's been a decent season for both of them. But again, I think next season is going to be a massive season for both of them.
Before we move on to oh yeah, and then I forgot. Let's speak about the champions, Celtic. Nervous 90 minutes, Graham, but they got the job done. But Dundee United nearly sneaked it. They had a couple of chances at the end of the game. I think the Ralston cleared the ball or on the goal line and stuff like that. So Dundee United won, Celtic won, Graham.
Yeah, and I mean, talk about United. They had a fantastic season. You know, European football, sitting fifth. They've done a really good job. Tam Courts, whatever you want to call him, Mr. Courts. He's done brilliantly. He really has. It's been a brilliant season for United. So fair play to them. It's a great result for them. But in terms of Celtic, I mean, again, we spoke about the start of the season. I don't think anyone really expected Celtic to win the league. With Ange Postecoglou coming in, he had to get new players in. He had to turn around a 25-point swing, and he's done it.
And can I just stop you there? And I wish I can find the show there, but I don't know what. Well, you've got a big smile on your face now, so you know what I'm going to say. At the beginning of the season, right, everybody gave their predictions and everybody laughed at me because I said Celtic. I rest my case.
To get relegated? You got that wrong.
To win the Europa Cup.
No, I mean, you have to give fair credit to Postecoglou. He's done a fantastic job. Now, yes, he has had money to spend, but you've got to sign the right players. They've got to buy into philosophy, and they have done that. You know, it could have taken a while for like Kyogo, Maeda, Giakoumakis to settle in, but to be fair, they have settled in very well. And again, it's not just that. It's the players that, I mean, we'll touch on them shortly, but Tom Rogic, who is going to be leaving, he's had a great season. You know, you look at guys like Greg Taylor, who I know a lot of Celtic fans maybe didn't rate, but he's been excellent for Celtic.
Yeah.
You know, you look at Anthony Ralston, he's turned him around. So the job that Postecoglou's done, you can't deny it. It's been a fantastic achievement. He's won the Cup, the League Cup. He's now won the league. And he's turned around like I said, a 25-point swing. So fair play to Postecoglou, his first season to win a cup double. I think this, again, I mentioned this again, that I think a lot of Celtic fans, and listen, I said that as well. When he first came in, I was like, who? I didn't know who the guy was, but fair play. You know, he's turned a lot of doubters into believers. And you have to say, for his first season, it's been a fantastic achievement. And I think, I mean, I'll ask you the question here. Now, obviously, next season, you've got to think the Celtic will be looking to win the league again. But would there be an expectation for you next season that Celtic would be a lot better in European football? Because obviously, you got knocked out of all the tournaments earlier this season. So would Ange Postecoglou look at next season and think, right, we have to be better in the European games next season?
You know what, Graham? Like, I was thinking about this, not because I knew that you were going to ask me this difficult question, right? But I was actually thinking about this, right? And I was thinking Ange Postecoglou is one of these guys where he's never happy, if that makes sense. Like, he's won the league, but he got knocked out the cup against Rangers the other week in the semi-final. And so next year, he's saying to the boys or the team, like, we need to win them all this next season, and we need to do better than Europe as well. So, but that's what I like about a kind of manager. You would say he's never happy. He always wants more out of the team. And the other thing I was going to say to Graham was the thing I like about Ange Postecoglou is that when like Eddie Howe or Eddie Who was going to maybe come up with the role to Celtic and Brendan Rodgers, right? Celtic was, and I suppose you could throw in Hearts, Rangers, a lot of teams into this mix, right? And you would say, well, Hearts has been linked with a Spanish striker or an Italian striker, and Rangers are, you know, the same old. But when Andy Postecoglou's come in, you've never heard of the markets that he's been fishing in, like Japan, like, you know, like further field as well. So that's what I like about him, because you don't know what to expect by him, if you know what I mean. What I'm trying to say is he doesn't fish in the same pond as the usual managers, like signing a guy from Spain or Italy or whatever. But he goes like further afield. He goes to Japan. He goes to places like you've never heard of. Good football players, like Kyogo, Maida, and the rest of them.
Yeah, and I think you look at like guys like Kyogo, as I say, it can take time for a guy to come into a new country who doesn't know the league, but he settled in very, very quickly. Again, I mean, I think it maybe took a little bit longer for like Giakoumakis. There was a lot of Celtic fans maybe doubted him a little bit, but he started to get run in the team because obviously Kyogo was out and he started to score goals. And a lot of Celtic fans were like, well, actually, this guy's not a bad player. And we spoke about Maeda before on the show. Maeda's work rate is unbelievable. He plays up front, but he always tracks back. He never lets up. And I think for me, if I'm a manager, that's what I want in my players, to never give up. And Maeda does that. His work rate is unbelievable. And I think these Celtic players have bought into what Postecoglou wants to do. And again, it has been a very big achievement. There's no doubt about that. And you said them earlier, when the whole Eddie Howe thing fell through, a lot of Celtic fans were like, what do we do now? Where do we go from here? And then they bring in this guy that nobody really knew about. And a lot of the media were like, who? A lot of media were very kind of ignorant of it as well. I was as well, I'll be honest. But the guys come in and, the first thing he did was say, you had that video where he says, we don't stop. And, Celtic haven't stopped. And I can't remember what game it was, but it was a while ago. And I remember it because Celtic won the game. And I can't remember for the life of what game it was. And he was asked after the game, obviously they won the game and he was delighted, but he wasn't happy with the performance. And you're thinking, you've won the game and you're not happy.
But that's what I mean about him, Grim. He's never happy, and that's what I'm not saying that he's never happy, but he wants to win. He won the league this season, but brilliant achievement. But he wants to do better than of the season this year, if that makes sense, and I include Europe as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what I mean. I think managers have to be demanding more from their players. If you've won 1 week, then you think, right, do the same again next week. Keep going. And I think Postecoglou does that with that Celtic team. He gets the best out of them. Listen, the game on Wednesday night didn't really matter. They knew they were going to the league, but they were up against a very good United side, and all they needed was a point, and they got the point. And you saw the celebrations after that. Celtic fans were absolutely buzzing, and rightly so. You've managed to win the title back from Rangers. Fair play. But I think next season it'll be about, like you've said, you go again. You win the league again next season.
Yeah.
And I do wonder, and listen, maybe Celtic might have done it. I don't know. But would Celtic have won the league under Eddie Howe? Would they have done it under Eddie Howe? We'll never know. But I do wonder if Eddie Howe had come in, obviously wouldn't have Kyogo, Maeda, Giakoumakis, guys like that. So you have to say that, Celtic's missing out on Howe has been a good thing because they got Postecoglou and look at the job he's done.
But that's what I'm saying, Grim. If Eddie Howe came in, you would find Spanish people there, French people. By the way, I've got nothing against Italians and French people, but the point I'm trying to make is Ange Postecoglou always goes for players that you've never heard of before, like that Langerberg, like Sir Kyogo, like some Maeda, Giakoumakis as well. I mean, I remember that he missed a penalty that day against Livingston at Hillgate Park, and everybody ring about me was saying, "Oh, he shouldn't get a game again." And then at the end of the season, he's picking up a championship medal.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to imagine. I mean, guys like Kyogo, Maeda, Matt O'Reilly, for example, as well.
Yeah,
they'll be looking at that reaction on Wednesday night and thinking, "Wow." I mean, I think they all know how big a club Celtic are anyway, but looking at it thinking, wow, this is unbelievable. I've come into a completely new country, a completely new team. I've won the league in my first season. I won a cup in my first season. And that those guys will go from strength to strength. Now, they've got experience in the league now, so next season they'll go again. But I think, as I mentioned earlier, I think you want to get better in European football. You want to get better in the Champions League.
Yeah.
And I think that's what they'll be looking to do next season. And I've got absolutely no doubt as well that Celtic will strengthen again in the summer. And, I think Celtic fans will trust Postecoglou to sign the right players again because he's done that. And I think, as well, what I said earlier, you also have to look at the players that he's already had there, the guys that he's turned around. And, I think you look at just the fact that you look at who's won Player of the Year, Callum McGregor. Now, a lot of Celtic fans might have thought, is he really good enough to lead the team? Well, he's done it.
Yeah. I always think of Ange Postecoglou, and he might be laughing at Alan Brazil because I don't know if you saw the video clip of his radio show, and he was laughing and they was saying, "You're the wind up," and obviously Ange Postecoglou get the last laugh as well. But we'll come back to speak about the tomorrow's games in a wee minute, Graham. But there's a small matter of the Scottish Premiership playoff tonight. Second semi-final, second leg, Arbroath for Inverness, quarter to kickoff. 0-0 in the first game. Now I watched the second half, Graham, because I think I told you, but I was all set to watch the game. Turned on at quarter to 8, never known it was a 7:05 kickoff. So I missed the whole of the first half, but it looks as though I never missed much, Graham, because I thought the game was a bit kind of for a semi-final. It was kind of hard to watch at times.
To be honest, you could have switched Coronation Street or Emmerdale on because it wasn't the greatest of games, let's be honest. But to be fair,
and Emmerdale's worse, but anyway, that's a personal opinion.
That's very true. But to be fair, given what was at stake, it's probably not a surprise. Both teams really don't want to lose. And they know they've got this game tonight. That's the one that matters. But I think for me, it's such a massive game. I've said before again that I would love Arbroath to come up to the Premiership. I think it would be brilliant to see Dick Campbell and the job he's done at Arbroath. I think Inverness might just have a little bit too much, but it's going to be a big game tonight. I'll be watching it. It's a massive, massive game for both teams. And I think, as I said before, whoever wins tonight, I think they'll fancy that game against St Johnstone with two legs. St Johnstone have we all know how poor a season they've had. So for one of these teams, there's no fear going into that game. I think if you're Arbroath or Inverness, you'll be thinking, right, we've got nothing to lose here, but what a chance it would be. And I think tonight, I know the game's at Gayfield. It'll be a difficult game, but I just think Inverness might just sneak it tonight.
And I've got a bit of homework for you, Graham, because I don't know if you noticed, or anybody can comment on it as well, but do you think that one of the assistant managers at Arbroath looks like Winston at a skill game? I'm just putting it out there. So if you know what I'm talking about, Graham, text me as well. So if you're wondering where the new series of skill game is, they can't make it because Winston is... We missed Campbell, Arbroath.
I'm sure Winston went off Wise at some point, surely.
No, Isaac as well. I think. But to be honest, I would like to see Arbroath coming up with them. Something a wee bit different.
It'd be brilliant. I know a few folk have said that if Arbroath came up with it, embarrassing. I don't agree with that. I think, yes, they might find it difficult. They're a part-time team, but I think at Gayfield especially will give teams a game. I've seen Hearts play at Arbroath and it's not an easy place to go. Hibs played them in the cup and Arbroath went 1-0 up, and to be fair to Hibs, they managed the game very well, but I think Arbroath will give people a game. And I think, imagine Dick Campbell going to places like Celtic Park, Ibrox and all that kind of stuff. It would be brilliant, and I'd love to see Arbroath come up. It really would be a fairy tale. Dick Campbell was up there for Manager of the Year, and he deserved, for me, I think he probably could have won it, but I would just love to see Arbroath coming up. They've had a fantastic season, and if they win tonight, it would be absolutely fantastic season playing against Johnston, but I just have a feeling that Inverness might just be a little bit too strong.
Now, I've got some breaking news for you, Graham, right? And I know that you're dying to hear this, so I'm going to tell you now. One of our colleagues on the show, Dave Smith, is working at the game tonight, right? And you would think he's up there doing a professional job, right? He's actually put on his Twitter, right? And you can actually go on and say this, right? he's actually went to a chip shop before the game, right? And he said 8 out of 10 for the chicken burger. Now, I'm reading that comment and I'm thinking to myself, me and Graham's got another hour to go on the show, and he's talking about food. So, but yeah, I hope you get to the game in time, David, and enjoy your chicken burger. You lucky boy.
I'm starving now.
I know exactly. Yeah, I'm sorry to rig out, but I just had to fill you in and what Dave's doing. That's why he's not here tonight, because he's eating a chicken burger. But yeah, good luck, pal. But yeah, I mean, Arbroath, it's going to be some story for Scottish football as they come up, because they've been on national TV as well, Graham.
Yeah, I mean, I really hope they get a good crowd tonight. I think they will. Obviously, Dave's one of them, eating his chicken burger. I am absolutely starving now. Can somebody bring me a chippy, please? I'm really hungry. But it would be absolutely phenomenal to see Arbroath coming up. As I say, I love Dick Campbell. I think he's a character. We all know that. And to see him in the Premiership against the likes of Postecoglou, Jan Bronckhorst, Robin Nielsen, it would just be, honestly, it would be sensational. What a story it would be. And you know, I don't know about you, but I watch a program called View for the Terrace, and you're right. Yeah. You know, Arbroath have been on that, and it's such a great story. You know, they're such a brilliant little club. They're a family club, and for them to be in the Premier League would be phenomenal. You know, I think like me, a lot of folk watched that game against Kilmarnock, and I was gutted, absolutely gutted that they lost that game. I really thought they were going to win it, but they've still got a chance. You know, they've still got a very good chance, and if they win tonight, as I say, either them or Inverness going up against St Johnstone, they won't hold any fear. But I really want Arbroath to do it. I really do. I just think it would be a brilliant story.
I thought you were actually talking about the chipper there, Graham, when you said you were gawked, but never mind. So let's go on to not speak about chippies now, because I'm starting to get a bit hungry now. And our outlets are available, like pizzas and all that. Anyway, so
stop talking about food. I'm starving.
the kebab shop and the bottom six finishes on Sunday. The top six tomorrow. Let's run through the games: Celtic, Motherwell, Hearts, Rangers, Ross County, Dundee United as well. So all 12:15 kickoffs. Celtic and Motherwell's on Sky. Really doesn't matter what happens on that game, but I was listening to Andrew today and he wants to win the game.
Yeah, of course you do. You're at home, last game of the season, you want to win it in front of your fans, have a title party. And listen, I think they probably will. I don't know if there's no reason not to play a full-strength squad if people are fit, you know, get that runabout. It might give a few players game time, but I think tomorrow for Celtic is about a title party, you know, just getting that title party underway. And I think the game is it doesn't really matter. Like you said, the title's done. They've won the league. So tomorrow will just be a case of getting the game out of the way, getting that party. And for Motherwell, again, it doesn't really matter. It's one of these games that they can go there and just relax, try and play the football like to hope Hearts might do last week. But again, you're up against a very good Celtic side, so that it's going to be very difficult.
Gordon is commenting on the Arbroath game, and he says, hoping Arbroath wins. I'm just along the road from Forfar. So that means you'll be saying that Chippy as well. This is not fair, Graham. You know, my first show back after a few weeks, and everybody's talking about Chippies.
Do you know, I was going to make a fish joke, so this isn't the time or place, but boom, I just made it.
Okay. That kind of passed me by a wee bit, but well done. Graham's available for pantomime. Oh no, he's not. Title party for Celtic tomorrow. Let's speak about Tom Rogic and Neil Beaton the last games tomorrow. Are you surprised that Rogic leaving?
To be honest, yes. We spoke about it earlier. You know, he's had a fantastic season, probably one of his best seasons for Celtic. He's been a massive part of why Celtic will win the league. He's had a rejuvenation under Ange Postecoglou. We all know the talent that Rogic has got. He's a very talented footballer, but he's had that bit of work rate about him this season as well. So I think for me, it was a very big surprise when it came out earlier on that he's going to be leaving. He has been there for a long time, same as Beaton, but you've got to think that Postecoglou must have other plans for, I don't know, other players or recruitment. But yeah, I mean, I think Rogic is a very good season, so I am surprised that he is leaving. But listen, wherever Tom Rogic goes now, he'll be a massive player for whoever gets him because he's a very, very talented footballer.
Do you think he would be remembered as a player at one Celtic Invincible season where it was 1-1 at Hampden Park and Tom Rogic came up at the very last minute and he scored the goal to make it 2-1? But apart from that, he scored some big goals as well, Graham.
He has, and I know Aberdeen fans are delighted to see him leaving because he scored quite a lot of goals against Aberdeen as well. Yeah, I mean, I think he's been a massive part of that Celtic Invincible history, and he's just a very talented footballer. He's very hard to knock off the ball. He's skillful. He's got a great touch for a. See, that's a lot, but he's got a great touch for a big man. But he genuinely does. But he's a very, very good footballer. And I think for him to be leaving Celtic will be he'll probably be gutted. Because Celtic's been a massive part of his life for a long time, but he will go highly.
Is that another first joke that you make them? Gaki? No, sorry.
I never thought about that, but I'll take it.
Yeah, okay.
But no, I mean, he will be remembered as a. Will he be remembered as a Celtic great? I think he probably will be. And like you said, he scored a lot of very critical goals, a lot of very big goals in finals and stuff. So, you know, for Celtic fans, you'll be disappointed he's leaving. But like I say, wherever he goes, he'll be a very, very player because he's a very, very talented footballer. And for Neil Beaton, again, I think Beaton's one of these guys that he can play centre-back, he can play midfield, and I think that's something that Celtic have needed. You know, he can play a number of different positions, but again, he's been there for a while as well. And again, another very talented footballer. So again, I am surprised that he's gone.
This all comes back to Ange Postecoglou, Grim, because if they two players left last season, if you were a Celtic fan, you wouldn't really be bothered. But because he's come in and because Ange Postecoglou's brought the Postecoglou magic, and that's a bit of a mouthful to Celtic Park, he's worked wonders with one season, and now, now they're away.
Yeah, I mean, I think to get the best out of Tom Rogic, I think you sometimes need to put an arm around the shoulder, and I think maybe Ange has done that. But there's no doubt in Rogic's ability. He's such a good footballer on the ball. He's very good to watch as well, even as a neutral. And I think you look at that midfielder like him, Callum McGregor, Hatate, whoever's in that midfield. He's been a massive part of that midfield and a big part of why Celtic won the league this season. You know, you spoke about him earlier, but the fact that you've got players that Postecoglou's come in and he's really turned around, like Greg Taylor, like Rogic.
Yeah.
And I think for Rogic to be leaving Celtic, as I say, whether that's an Ange Postecoglou thing, whether Rogic has thought, maybe my time's up here, I don't know. But it will be a massive wrench for him to leave because he's been a huge part of Celtic Football Club for a long time.
I think listening to Ange Postecoglou today, it came out as though that he knew the two of them was leaving by Christmas because there was holding talks with him since Christmas. So that this is not a new thing to Ange. This is not a new thing to Postecoglou, Grim. Just before we go into Motherwell, I want your comments about James Forrest signing a new deal. Was that a bit surprising? Just because he's been, this season especially, but is that surprising because he's been so injury prone?
Yeah, and any Celtic fans in the chat here can join in. Are you surprised that Forrest is staying? I'll be honest, I think when Forrest won the Player of the Year a few years ago, there was no doubt he was the best player in Scotland at the time. But the injuries that he's had have really hampered him. And I'll be honest, I am surprised that he is staying. There's no doubt that James Forrest, again, is a very, very good player. The pace he's got, it's a massive thing to have. But, guys like Jota, Abada, I think for those guys, I'm assuming they're going to stay next season. Are they on loan or are they getting signed up or what's happening with them?
Jota, the scum talks with him, because I thought that deal was sorted out at Christmas, him and Jota and Carter Vickers. So that's still in the kind of late background. But yeah, I mean, the interesting question is that who would you want to stay out? If you had to pick one of them, Grim, who would you rather stay, Jota or Carter Vickers? If you had to pick one, I know it's a bit unfair, but
I really like creative players. So for me, I would have said Jota. I think you watch Jota and you think this guy's something special. He's very, very talented. But then again, you look at Celtic defensively, and I think they've been a lot better since Carter Vickers came in. So it's a difficult one. I think if you can keep both, then you would ideally want to keep both. But for me, I always look at the attacking side of the game. So for me, it would be Jota 100%. But there's no doubt that him and Carter Vickers have been huge players for Celtic. And I think if I'm James Forrest, I'm thinking, am I going to get in that team if the likes of Abada and Jota stay? Personally, I don't think so because I think they're better players. But again, James Forrest has got something to offer. There's no doubt about that. But I just think you look at Jota and I just think he's a very, very talented footballer again.
If you want to go into the locker room Twitter and want to see what David Smith looks like after a chicken burger, he's actually just posted a picture of him with a kind of cheesy smile, you would say. But yeah, I'll leave it up to everybody to have a wee look at it as well. And hopefully your computers are still working after you see that photo of David going Twitter, because my computer's not working now. It's got a virus on it. Okay, so let's speak about Celtic World League champions this season. Let's speak about the other side of the fence, Motherwell, Graham.
Yeah, I mean, I think, as we said earlier, been very up and down. To have only won 3 games all year and be in European football, it's absolutely mental. But like I said earlier, fair play to them. They've managed to do it. It doesn't matter how you do it as long as you do it. But I think they'll go into this game tomorrow. There's nothing really to play for. They've got European football. I think it's a free hit for them. I never like using that word, but when you go to Celtic Park, it is a free hit. And tomorrow they can just go there relaxed, try and play a bit of football, try and not get hammered. But as I say, it's very difficult to go to Celtic Park and not get hammered, as Hearts found out last week. But I think if you're Graham Alexander, I think you've got to be happy how the season's gone. You're sitting in 4th place. I think you're more than happy with that. I don't think a lot of Motherwell fans expected that at the start of the season. So they can be happy with their season so far. And I think tomorrow again, can they go to Celtic Park and spoil the party? I don't think so personally, but they had a very, very good season, which does sound bizarre when they've only won 3 games all year, but fair play to them.
Just to, before we look ahead to the other game tomorrow on Sunday, just a couple of programme notes. We've got a programme coming up next week because I think we've got a small matter of the Scottish Cup final. Rangers against Hearts. Will be here with a preview from the Hearts point of view. I wonder who will get from the Hearts point of view. I think it will be Graham. I'm not actually sure. And then some get from the Rangers point of view as well. And also on the 1st of June, we'll be on there after Scotland postponed the playoff game in the World Cup against Ukraine. The 1st of June, we'll be on it that night from 10 o'clock at night till 11:30. And if we beat them, we'll play Wales. I think it's on the Saturday, Graham. I'm not actually sure. But we'll be on then as well. So keep checking in the live Facebook page for more details. So that's a few programs to look out for. And then I will go, and me and Graham, not together obviously, but we'll go for a lie down because it's been a very busy season. And I've enjoyed working with Graham and the rest of the guys here on the locker room. Okay, I was waiting for Glenn to say, yeah, I feel the same about you, Michael. But anyway, he never said that, so we'll move on.
I was just glad. I was just glad you clarified not lying down together. That's all I'm saying.
Well, that's 6:15. We need to keep it clean. So yeah, Hearts against Rangers. I suppose this is the warm up to the cup final, Glenn.
It is, but again, I don't know what kind of teams we're going to see tomorrow. As I say, I think Rangers got a bigger game on Wednesday, so I don't think they're going to go full strength. Again, I don't think Hearts will go full strength. As I said, I would like to see a few players that we haven't had a lot of game time and potentially pushing for that cup final place next week. As I say, for me, I would be resting, although he did rest on Wednesday. Barry Mackay was rested. I'd give Liam Boyce a rest. Potentially, I would bring Craig Gordon back in because as much as tomorrow doesn't matter, I'd like to win the last league game of the season, and I don't want Ross Stewart to go because Ross Stewart is genuinely dreadful. So I think tomorrow's just a game that, I think there'll be a decent crowd at Tynecastle tomorrow, last game of the season in the league. I give the guys a good send-off for the final next week. But I don't know what kind of team Rob will put out tomorrow. And I think Van Bronckhorst, if I'm him, I'm playing under 12 side tomorrow because the game on Wednesday is a bigger game.
I suppose I know that you were talking about a few weeks ago, this game would have been on the TV if it wasn't for the last game of the season and if it wasn't for the last games of the season, because these are Hearts and Rangers games, especially at Tynecastle, adding to the atmosphere. This is a very good game. This bit tomorrow, it might be a kind of damp squib.
Yeah, I mean, again, we've not beat Rangers this season, which is disappointing. I hope that's not the. I mean, listen, if I could be guaranteed we lose tomorrow, win the cup final, I would take it 100%. But nothing's ever guaranteed in football, so I can't do that. But I just think tomorrow is a chance to give the guys a send off because whatever happens, it's been a magnificent season. Again, I didn't really expect us to be playing European football next season. I didn't expect to be third in the league, so I am delighted how the season's gone. On you go.
I know you can tell by this is how it's good being on the webcam. You can tell by my body. I was but no, I was just going to ask it earlier on, and I forgot about it until you mentioned it there. So if Hearts get beaten in the cup final next week, every chance they will or they won't. Do you think it's still a successful season for Hearts back in the Big Boys League then, in terms of getting to Europe and finishing third in the league?
If we get beat next week, I'm hiring that playback with Nielsen out banner across it. No, I'm not. I'm not going to see this. No, listen, whatever happens next week, it's been a brilliant season. At the start of the season, I always think we should be up there challenging. Now, it's very hard to challenge Celtic and Rangers, I know that, but to be finishing third, the best of the rest, I'm delighted with. I spoke about this at the start of the season again. Recruitment is massive, and Robbie and Joe Savage have got it right this season. Recruitment's been brilliant. So I can't have any complaints. Whatever happens next week, yes, I want to win the cup. Of course I do. But whatever happens, it's been a brilliant season. For me, and this might sound very petty, but for me, beating Hibs in the semi-final was my final. Not just because it was Hibs, but because of what that meant. The fact we were guaranteed group stage European football, the money that brings, that was huge. So yes, I want to win next week, but even if we don't, it's been a magnificent season. It really has been. And I think we have to build on that next season. I spoke earlier on for you about Celtic next season, but for me, we have to build on that next season and go again. Get 7 or 8 new players in, build on that next season. But I hope that I'm celebrating a cup win next week because that would be what has been a brilliant season, would be an incredible season if we win the cup.
I suppose one big thing to look out for next season is when Hearts get into the Europa Cup atmosphere at Tynecastle as well, under the floodlights.
Yeah, this is the thing. I never want to see European football at Murrayfield again because Murrayfield is horrible for a football stadium. So playing European games at Tynecastle will be absolutely brilliant. Getting the fans back in would be so big. And listen, it depends who we get. It depends on the draw. But just to get back to Tynecastle and see European football again, it's been such a long time since we had it. We played Birkirkara in That was absolutely dreadful, the last Robin this year. But just to play European football again, I cannot wait to get back to Tynecastle and see European nights under the lights. You know what it's like at Celtic Park. To have Tynecastle under European, it's brilliant. I love it.
I suppose I know what you were saying there, Graham, about no matter what you haven't, no matter what teams you play in Europe, but it doesn't matter because you're still in European football.
Yeah, I mean, European football is massive, and I say the money that we could get, not just from European football, but again for like if Aaron Hickey, as I said earlier, goes to Arsenal, we get a sell-on fee, so that money is going to be huge, and we can hopefully. I'm not saying how much we'll spend on it, but we can put money into the squad to build on that. And to have these games at Tynecastle, European games at Tynecastle, it's so important. You know, I was at Tynecastle when we played Liverpool, and we got beat, but it was unbelievable for me as a Liverpool fan as well. To see my two teams playing each other in that game was unbelievable. I loved it, and I hope next season. I don't know who we'll get in the draw, but I don't care who it is. Just to get back to Tynecastle and see European nights at Tynecastle under the lights, I can't wait. I'm so excited.
Yeah, so my last game tomorrow, Dundee United, their way to Ross County, 12:15 kickoff as well. This might be a decent game because two of the teams that has had a kind of decent season, and when you're talking about European football, Dundee United qualified for European football the other night.
They did, and again, as I said earlier, Thomas Coates done a brilliant job. Again, I watched him against Aberdeen first game of the season. I thought this might not work out, but to be fair, he's done brilliantly. You know, they look a very, very good side. I know our friend Dave's seen United a few times, and he says they're a very good side, and they are. You know, I've watched them a few times against Hearts, and they're a good side to watch. They've got a lot of very good players in that team. Obviously, they managed to sign Tony Watt from Motherwell, which is a big signing. And they've been a very, very good side. And for them to get European football in Thomas Coates' first season, like Graham Alexander from Motherwell, it's brilliant. And again, it's a big achievement for them. I don't know what they're going to do next season, but if they can build on that again, it would be huge. I think in terms of Ross County, you know, Malky Mackay up there for Manager of the Year, again, deservedly so. They've had a very good season. I think for me, I've said this before, I'll be very surprised if Regan Charles Cook is still there next season because I think he will be away. Although having said that, I don't think he's sorry.
No, I was just going to say, as I usually jump in about 5 times during our show, sorry. Where do you think he would go, Graham?
I think potentially Aberdeen. I think I know Aberdeen are in for him. There was talk as well that Hearts were in for him, but I don't think that's true. I don't think Hearts are looking at him. But listen, Charles Cook has been brilliant.
Would you take him at Hearts?
I probably would. I think I've seen a lot of Hearts fans say we should be aiming higher than that, but who? I don't know who Hearts fans want to come in. But I think the thing with Regan Charles Cook, he knows the league. He's played in the league. He's the top scorer. So I don't think you can turn your nose down a guy like that. He's been a very good season. Although, to be fair, since he got nominated for Player of the Season, I don't think he's scored since. But he has been he has had a very good season. And I think he's done brilliantly. You know, him and Joseph Hungbo have been a very, very good partnership for Ross County. So you've got to look at it and say Ross County have had a very good season. Again, I think a lot of folk might have tipped Ross County to go down. But they've been brilliant this season. So fair play to him, Malky Mackay. And I think, again, you're right. That potentially, even though it's the last game of the season, nothing to play for, that could potentially be a good game to watch. Now, I've said that, it'll finish 0-0 with no shots on target, but you never know.
We always like to give it a big build-up anyway, even though it's going to be 0-0. Or 2 penalties or whatever. So let's move on to Sunday then. It's a bit weird, so that I was saying to you, Graham, before we come on air, that it's usually the bottom 6 and Saturday and the top 6 on the Sunday. But for some reason this season, they like to move things a bit about say that again. They move it a bit about. Say that again. Maybe not. Okay, so get that out. We get, oh no, it's live. We can't. So the bottom 6 on the Sunday. I think I get said that early on, and Skigga making that fool up myself. Aberdeen against Mirren, Hibs, Johnson, Livingston, Dundee. Well, we know Dundee's away anyway. Aberdeen and St Mirren, Graham. It's going to be very interesting from Jim Goodwin because am I not mistaken that this is the first time he's actually played St Mirren since he's left, or am I getting completely wrong here? Because I can't remember.
Good question. Potential, I'm not sure. But, I mean, I think, looking at it again on Sunday, I don't know what kind of crowd they'll get at Pittodrie. I think a lot of Aberdeen fans are really fed up with what's happened this season, which you can understand. It's been a terrible season. You know, I think it's one of these games that you go there and think, you know, how bad can it really get? But I think for Aberdeen, I mean, I keep saying this, but they cannot be any worse next season, surely. They've had such a poor season. But again, Goodwin needs time. I do think he's the right appointment. I think he'll do well for Aberdeen, but he's going to need at least 2 or 3 chances to get this right. But I think on Sunday, it's a game that, again, you know, last game of the season, you want to win. You know, going to the end of the season with a bit of momentum. But, I mean, that game against St Johnstone midweek, again, they were so poor. They were so lackluster. Now, I don't know if that's because it's the second last game of the season. I don't know. But there was nothing about them. There was no real fight. There was no real spark. And for Aberdeen, for a club of Aberdeen's size, that shouldn't be happening. So I think if you're an Aberdeen fan going at that game on Sunday, you want to win. You know, just win the game and try and you just want the season finished with, basically. You want the season over.
But I mean, to be honest, if you were an Aberdeen fan, you wanted the season over at Christmas.
Yeah, I think you did. It's just been so poor. It's been such a poor season. And I think for St Mirren, again, as I said earlier, a decent season. I think Stephen Robinson, I think he will do a decent job next season. But again, it's a case of how long will he get to get things right. Again, a couple of transfer windows needed. But I think they'll go to Pittodrie and think, this is a game we can win. You know, Aberdeen are a real downward spiral here, so this is a game we can win and end our season well. But it's such a hard game. It's a hard game to call. But you know what? I'm going to say this now. I'm going to go Aberdeen 2, St Mirren 0.
Oh, before now, it's at St Mirren now. A random question just came into my head because my name is random. But do you think that because Stephen Robertson's moved to St Mirren, he would have less of a budget than he did get for Park?
I don't think there's no doubt about that. I think he will. And I think he knows that as well. And I think potential as well, they will lose Connor Ronan. I know there's talk of Ronan potentially going to Hearts. I would love to see Connor Ronan at Hearts. They're a very good player. He scores some really good goals as well. So they might lose him. And again, they'll have to replace him. I think Jamie McGrath leaving St Mirren during the season again was a massive blow, and they didn't really replace him. So it'll be another case of they have to get recruitment right in the summer, but they won't have, like you said, they won't have a lot of money to spend. So it'll be a case of maybe getting loan players in. But listen, I think St Mirren, they won't really have a massive expectation. I said earlier, will it be potentially top 6? I don't know, maybe. But I think Robinson's a decent manager. But he will have, like you said, he won't have as big a budget as at Motherwell. It won't be massive. But he's going to have probably maybe 4 or 5 loan players in there.
Is St Mirren a kind of team you would say that if they achieve to stay up every season, that's an achievement in itself? Because of the budgets and, you know, the type of player that they bring in St Mirren. No disrespect, Barry, to any St Mirren fans, but I don't know if you know where I'm coming from them, because they're never going to be up. You were talking about if there was any teams going to separate Celtic and Rangers winning the league. I don't think St Mirren will do it.
I like that hole you're digging for yourself there.
I'm trying to get out of it, but I can't find any rope. So
no, I think you're right. I think potentially they probably would be looking. I mean, Tony Fitzpatrick, I know a while ago said St Mirren should be aiming higher. And, you know, could St Mirren be doing better? I don't know, potentially. But I think you are right. I think they would be. I think every season it is a case of will they stay up? And to be fair, they have. Every season they do stay up. And I think next season it will be a case of, for me, I think they'll be looking at trying to stay up again. Like Livingston. It's a case of can they stay up? And if they do, it's a successful season. But you want to try and aim higher than that. But again, with the budgets they've got, it is very difficult to do that.
Let's go on to speak about Livingston, and obviously we'll speak about Dundee in a wee minute or two. I think we've covered Dundee a lot tonight on the show, but would you say that Livingston is a good football team? But I think, personally speaking, I think the only thing that's letting Livingston down is the fan base.
Yeah, I mean,
especially at home games.
Yeah, Livingston's ground is a very nice ground. I've been there a few times and I do like going there. But like you said, they don't get a massive fan base. You're seeing like three sides of the ground, Celtic fans or Rangers fans or whatever, and that has got to be disappointing. And again, something else that I keep talking about on this show, and we do say it a lot, but that pitch as well, I'm not a massive fan of that pitch.
No.
Listen, it's fine for Livingston. It's fine for the way they want to play and David Martindale, but I don't like that pitch. I never have. But, David Martindale, I do like him. He's a good guy. He's a character. I know our pal Reagan isn't a massive fan of him, but
yeah,
I think he's done a good job at Livingston. And again, he's kept them up. I think he says it every season. If we stay up, it's a successful season. And I get that because, again, like St Mirren, they don't have a lot of funds. But I think for a club like Livingston, it would be great. I mean, Livingston's a really nice area as well. They've got a lot of things going for it. And it would be great if they could get a bit more of a fan base. But again, how many people in Livingston go to watch Celtic or go to watch Rangers, go to watch Hearts, go to watch Hibs?
Yeah.
It is difficult to get that fan base to drum up that support. But I would like to see Livingston get a little bit more fan base because they are a very well run club. But like you said, the fan base, they don't have a fan base, and it's disappointing.
I mean, how annoying would it be if you have a Livingston fan, Graham, and they won like 10 games on the bench? I bet when David Martindale came along and they won, 12 games or something back to back, and they were going to every game knowing that it wasn't going to be a full house.
Yeah, disappointing. And again, you look at Livingston were in the League Cup final they played against St Johnstone. Now, okay, there was no fans there because of COVID. But again, you think, and even years ago, I remember they played, I'm going to get this wrong, but they played Hibs in the League Cup final. They won 2-0. And you think, right, Livingston will now get a lot more fans coming to the games. But again, they don't get it. It's the same with St Johnstone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
St Johnstone won 2 cups. And you look at the turnout they had for the European games. They were filling McDermott Park, and they don't do it every week, and that's disappointing. Where is that fan base going? It's so disappointing to see.
I think that's the difference between Scottish football and English football, Graham. Because if you look at English football and you look at the bottom of the table, say Wolves were playing, I don't know, Crystal Palace or something, a team like that. But you always guarantee that the park is going to be full. Yeah, Livingston is playing Dundee at the weekend, and there'll be no one there.
You'll get 3 men and a dog. That'll be about it. Let's be honest. It's not going to be full.
Come on, Graham, give them 4.
4. I always look at like Livingston and St Johnstone and I think you're going to sell season tickets. Why bother? Just go and pick a seat because there's not enough fans to fill it anyway. So what's the point of selling season tickets? I mean, for me. I mean, it's been a long time since I've been to like Livingston or St Johnstone, but I love going to these kind of away games because they're cracking grounds. McDermott Park's a great ground. Livingston's a great ground. It's not far to go to either, and it would be great if they could get that fan base. But like I said, you look at when they play Celtic or Rangers, they've got 3 parts of the ground are Celtic and Rangers fans, and that's so disappointing. It really is.
But if you say that to Livingston, they'll not care because they're just getting money.
They are, and listen, every club needs money. They want the funds to come in, but there must be a way to get fans Livingston fans, St Johnstone fans into the stadiums. I mean, listen, for St Johnstone example, if you can't get fans to come when you've just won 2 trophies, you're never going to get them. Let's be honest.
Am I right in saying, Graham, this season Livingston gave so many tickets away to schools?
Probably.
Yeah. But is that no embarrassing? Is it, you know, obviously they're trying to sell Livingston to the schools and vice versa and stuff like that. But
it's probably more embarrassing if the schools hand them back, let's be honest, if they don't come.
Yeah. So like, I'll do my homework instead of going to the game today. It's fine. What about the last game? Well, let's speak about Dundee then. They're down. I mean, what's your expectations at the moment? Are they going to? I know this is a kind of hypothetical question to ask you, but are they going to come right back up?
Down, deeper and down. Status quo reference in there.
1965. So
I wasn't born then, I wouldn't know that. But I mean,
no, that.
I said earlier, I think that championship was very hard to get out of. When you look at the teams that are in that championship already, it's a very difficult league to get out of. And I think, I mean, Dundee, for me, will probably be one of the favourites to come back up. But I don't know if they will. I said earlier that you look at a lot of the, you said earlier about the players they've got there. A lot of those players might leave. You know, Charlie Adam, Paul McMullen, Paul McGowan, they might leave. So they're going to have to rebuild. And, you know, whoever comes into that Dundee job, because I don't think McGee will stay. I
think Charlie Adam's moving on.
That's not a surprise. But I mean, I don't know who's going to get the Dundee job, because I don't think Mark McGee is going to stay. Let's be honest. So whoever gets the Dundee job has got a lot of work to do. But I don't... It's such a hard league to get. It's a tough league, and I think Dundee will be. I think they will be one of the favourites to get out of that league again, but I don't know if they will. I really don't. I think they might struggle in that league again.
And I suppose like you could say the point that the budget will be cut. But the budget will be cut anyway, even if there was in the Premiership. Because when we were talking about Motherwell and, you know, the comparison between Motherwell and Aberdeen, like the budget for not Motherwell and Aberdeen, I'm having a brain moment now. Stephen Robertson, Motherwell and St Mirren, that's the one. Thank you to Michael McEwen who's commented on there to help me. But Dundee, if they were still in the Premiership that season, Graham, the budgets are going to be cut every year, because I mean, I always feel that when we were talking about football stadiums and that we're not having to go any football stadiums, but that must be the one of the worst football stadiums to watch a game of football.
You know, when you said about will Dundee come up, I should have gone, the only way is up. Should have done that. I should have done that earlier.
Too late.
Listen, I have very, very dark recollections of Dens Park from 1986. I really hate that stadium. But I mean, yeah, it probably isn't the best place to watch it. And I think especially this season, it's been so poor. And I mean, again, I don't dislike Dundee as a football club. I think they've got a lot of good things going on there. I think they do have some good players there, but it's just been one of these seasons that it's been so disappointing. You know, you've got players there that, for me, I said earlier, you've got players for me that should do a lot better. You know, they should be a lot better than what they have been. And they have given teams games, but unfortunately they've lost a lot of goals as well. I mean, they played Livingston, I think, one of the games, it was actually after they played Celtic at Parkhead, they lost 3-2. They played Livingston a few days later and they got beat 4-0 at home, or 5-0 at home. And that was, I mean, that is so disappointing. And again, I mean, I just look at Dundee now and I just think, what for me will Dundee be remembered for this season? And it'll be Mark McGee and it'll be the mobile phone. I mean, that's what I remember them for. Nothing else. And it's just been so poor. You know, they've had a really poor season. And I think for me, I said earlier as well that I think sacking James McPake was very harsh. And, you know, you reap what you sow. They brought in Mark McGee and it really hasn't worked. I don't know how many times I said this on the show as well, that I said to James the week before last, I don't think the new manager bounce really works, and I still stick by that. And it hasn't worked with Mark McGee. They've won one game, and it's a game that didn't matter because they were down anyway.
And just in case Dave Smith is listening, and Graham was saying about, don't know what's good about Dundee. There's a few nice chippies in Dundee as well. I think could go on for chicken, but sorry, Graham, half an hour could go right, and then we can go away.
You know, I'm actually that hungry. I've scored up a bit of paper that I had in my hand. I might just eat that because I'm starving.
Yeah. So the last game you speak about this season. This season, that's quite weird because I always think about seasons. You know, from Christmas to now, it goes in that quick. You know, never mind. I'm just reminiscing there. The last game Hibs against St Johnstone. Two poor teams again, Graham, but you could say that St Johnstone's in the playoff final, and Hibs are just, you know, I think it's back to what you were saying earlier on about Aberdeen wanting the season over weeks ago. Hibs could probably say that as well.
I'm going to go for my hat trick of songs here. You ready? For Hibs and St Johnstone. Are you ready for this?
Yes.
Things can only get better. They can't get any worse, let's be honest.
Graham is also available for weddings and birthday parties as well as nights out. Yeah, I don't know where I was going there with that one. That's where I was trying to think on my feet. But anyway, yeah. So yeah, horrible season for both teams, Graham.
It has been, and I mean, Hibs is such a strange one because at the start of the season, I remember a former Hibs player, let's just say Tam McManus, was delighted that Hearts came up because he wanted to hammer us. Well, that didn't go very well, did it? And I just think, you know, for Hibs, it's been so poor. They've had as I said earlier, you know, they lost Martin Boyle with a massive blow. They got to the cup final against Celtic and they gave Celtic a run for the money, but ended up losing anyway. They've lost Kevin Nisbet through injury. They lost Christian George through injury. It's been one disaster after another, and I've been lapping it up. I'm not going to lie, I've been loving it. But in terms of Hibs, listen, I'm gonna say this now. Hibs are a big club, right? They shouldn't be where they are. But if you don't get recruitment right, and if you don't get the right manager in, you're going to struggle. And unfortunately, they brought in Maloney, who I do think should have been given more time. I think it was a bit unfair. But they need to get this next manager appointment right. You know, who that will be, I don't know. Whoever's on that short list. But they've got to get it right. They need to get this next manager right, and they need to have a better season next season. And I will say this again. I've said it already. They will not be any worse next season. Fingers crossed they are, please be. But no, I think they can't be any worse next season. And I think they will strengthen the summer. They will get Nisbet back. They will get Doyce back. And they will be better next season. As long as they don't finish above Hearts, I don't care where they finish. And for St Johnstone, again, this is going to be huge because they've got massive games coming up in these playoff games against either Arbroath and Inverness. If they lose those and they go down, I think they could stay in that championship for a while because I keep saying this. That championship is a very, very hard league to get out of. And I think they will struggle in that league. I really do.
And there you go, Graham. They did. That's the last football played you over for a season. Wow, it's gone at that. Yeah. But never mind, we're still here for the next few weeks anyway. Cup final next weekend in the 1st of June. I just wanted to get your comments, Graham, about a disappointing element to Scottish football. Sometimes it's brilliant Scottish football. Sometimes it's embarrassing. At the Writers' Player of the Year Awards last week, that Eddie Barber and I think it was Conor McLaughlin walked out of the Player of the Year. And I'm sure Angie Postecoglou and Alex Ferguson went away as well because they got a kind of after dinner speaker, and he was making a few racist jokes, I think it was, and sexist jokes as well. No, like when I heard that, I was like, oh no, but at the same time, I was quite embarrassed for Scottish football, but you know that way you're kind of used to it because Scottish football is embarrassing sometimes anyway. But I don't know what your take on it was, Graham.
Yeah, I saw Ellie Barber's comments, and obviously I didn't know what happened at the time, but I've read up about it, and it's, you know, whoever that comedian, etc., was, he clearly wasn't very funny. You know, when you go to these kind of things, you've got to have a certain kind of etiquette, and yeah, you know, comedians are going to be edgy, they're going to be controversial, but to do what he's done, it's an embarrassment. You know, we've talked all season about you talk about what happened with Glenn Kamara, you know, with the whole Slavia Prague thing, the racism. We spoke about it, and we've always spoke about the fact that this kind of thing at football stadiums and that needs to stop. So for a comedian or whoever the guy was, I don't know who he is, I've never seen him before.
No,
but for somebody to come into these kind of things and to do that kind of thing,
I didn't recognise his name.
No, I didn't at all. But it's so poor. You know, it's very poorly judged. It's been poorly. I mean, I don't know what he was thinking about. I don't know if he thought, I'll just go there and try, I'll be funny and stuff, and people will laugh at it. But clearly nobody did, because people have walked out, and rightly so. And the fact that Postecoglou talked about it, said it was disappointing, that shows how bad it must have been. And I think these things have to get pointed out, and hopefully that guy will never perform at these things again. But I mean, I don't know who he is. I don't know the guy. I've never heard of him before. I don't want to hear about him because, you know, I feel sorry for Ellie Barber and anyone that was there that was offended by those comments, what was said. And, you know, to make racist jokes, they're not even funny anyway, but to make racist jokes after everything that's happened this season is disgraceful, really. And it shouldn't be happening in this day and age. And, you know, the guy for me should have been punted out the place where it was. I mean, it's shocking. It really is.
Do you think that the person kind of organised him to be part of the night should lose their job? But in saying that, they didn't know what he was going to be like until on the night.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's harsh. You know, you can't. You know, you don't know what this guy's going to do when he turns up. It's like if you, for example, if you ask Frankie Boyle to come along, you know what you're going to get. You know, Frankie Boyle is very edgy, he's very controversial. You know you're going to get that. Yeah. So you don't hire him in that case. But, you know, you don't know what this other guy's going to be like. You know, they've asked this guy to come along. You don't know what kind of jokes he's written, what he's going to say. So you can't, you know, you can probably say to him, look, you can say this, you can say that, but don't say this, don't say that. And he might go, well, I'm not coming then. So, you know, you've got to be very careful with these kind of things. But surely in this day and age, you look at the folk who are out there, you look at the folk who are going to be there, and you think, right, I can't say this, I can't say that, I can't do this, I can't do that. It's just shocking. It really is. And I hope the guy is, I'm not going to say I hope he gets abused, because that's not what I want, but I hope he gets a lot of poor comments, and I hope that a lot of other folk who might think about hiring him again don't hire him, because that it's out of order. It really is.
Do you think that's an embarrassing moment for Scottish football?
100% it is. You know, if you've got high-profile folk like Conor McLaughlin, Ellie Barber, you've got Ange Postecoglou calling it out, then it is embarrassing. And I think you've got to think about that. And next time, I mean, it's very hard, because if you've got a comedian, you can't tell him what to say, what to write, what to say, what not to say. But I think now you're going to be looking at that thinking, well, I need to say next time if he's here, I need to tell him what he can and can't say.
But surely he would know, Glenn, because as you said, that it's gone into mixed company, different cultures. And don't forget there's like young football players there, boys, girls, women's, men's teams as well. Surely he would tone his jokes down.
Yeah, you would hope so. I mean, I think I spoke about Frankie Boyle there, but I mean, I've been to Frankie Boyle things before, and you listen to him and you think, I shouldn't really be laughing at that, but you hear other folk around you laughing, so other folk think it's funny. Now, I don't know. I wasn't there. I don't know if anyone thought that anything he said was funny, but maybe not. I don't know. But for people like Conor McLaughlin and Ellie Barber to post what they did on Twitter obviously says that this guy was not funny, and that is outrageous what's happened. And I hope he's not allowed back at these things again, because it is shocking what he's done.
10 minutes left, Glenn, before we can go and get the chippy. By the way, I'm not having a chippy tonight. I guess I would say that. One more show to go, and it's the big one next week for you, Glenn. Obviously, we'll speak about the cup final. Let's speak about Rangers in the final on Wednesday night. Big achievement for another Scottish team to get to a European football. But I mean, I suppose if they don't win, it's still a good achievement getting to the final.
Yeah, I mean, I think they'll be disappointed if they don't win it, given the teams have beat already. But it will be a huge achievement. I mean, I think, as I said, I don't think they'll fear Eintracht Frankfurt. They're actually lower in the league than what Leipzig were. But it's a one-off game. You never know. I think Rangers. I asked James this last week. Would Rangers go into this game as favourites? I think they might do, given the teams have beaten.
Yeah,
but I think it's yeah. I mean, I think it's a tough one because they've got this game and then they've got the cup final next week. So you don't know how they're gonna fare in the cup final next week. So it's a difficult one.
But do you think it's a wee bit different because they're not at Ibrox, and it's a one-off game?
Yeah, potentially. I mean, I think there'll be a lot of Rangers fans in Seville. I don't know how much that ground holds, but there'll be a lot of Rangers fans in Seville. There's already Rangers fans there now, and the game doesn't start for a few more days. But fair play to them, have a party. But I think it's a massive game for Rangers. You go into this game and think, look at the teams you've beaten. You've beaten Dortmund, you've beaten Braga, you've beaten Leipzig. You can beat Eintracht Frankfurt. And, we all know what happened when they played Zenit St. Petersburg years and years ago. And that was a big disappointment for them. But as you said, they managed to get there. So I think whatever happens on Wednesday, they've done brilliantly to get there. But I genuinely think Rangers will win this. I really do. I think they've got a very good chance. And if they do, it's a huge achievement and a feather in the cap for Van Bronckhorst because, after Gerrard left, you think, where are Rangers going to go now? Okay, they've not won the league, but they could potentially still win a European Cup and a Scottish Cup. So, fair play to Van Bronckhorst. He's done a very good job.
It was funny when you were saying about Rangers fans already being over there. I was actually looking at social media last night and they're warning Rangers fans not to go over there. That that's going to fall on deaf ears because there'll be a lot of Rangers fans there. Even if they haven't got a ticket for the game, just go for the atmosphere and the party atmosphere as well.
That's like telling my son, don't do something, he does it anyway. It's pointless saying that. They're going to go. It's a final of a European Cup game. Of course they're going to go. I think it's a case of, the Rangers fans will be absolutely buzzing to be there and be at a massive, massive game. And if they win that, it'll be such a huge occasion for Rangers. And I mean, personally, if they win it, I hope their players are absolutely hammered for the cup final next week, so they've got a chance of winning it.
Yeah, that'll be a big. I think it'll be good to highlight Scottish football. Do you not think it puts Scottish football on the map a wee bit, Graham?
It does, because let's be honest, there's a lot of people in England don't really watch Scottish football because they think of.
I think that's what I was getting at there, Graham.
I knew that. See, I can read your mind.
Yeah,
people. There's a lot of folk down south that think the Scottish League is a tin pot league. You can say the same for the English Premiership. There's only like two teams that are going to win it: Man City and Liverpool. So, but there's a lot of people that turn their nose up at Scottish football. And listen, I can understand why at times, but to see Rangers in a European final, if it was Celtic, I'd say exactly the same thing. If it was Hibs, I'd say exactly the same thing. To see a Scottish team in a European final, it is a huge, huge thing for Scottish football. And it does put Scottish football on the map. There might be a lot of people in England will now watch that final because Rangers are in it. So it's a massive, massive thing for Scottish football. But for Rangers as well, it's huge. And if they win it, it will put Scottish football on the map, I think. Totally.
Not even if they win the cup, Graham, but like even they get a lot of money to win it as well.
Yeah, they will do, and that'll come in handy. Van Bronckhorst will probably have money to spend next season to put a challenge into Celtic to try and wrestle that league back. But the money they get from this will be absolutely huge. So it'll be a fair in the cap if they can win this. And, for Van Bronckhorst as well, as if he can win the European Cup in his first season, what a massive achievement that would be for him.
But even if they don't win it, Grim, it's still a massive achievement by beating big German teams. One of them is Borussia Dortmund. Who would give a think that, Grim?
100%. And I think I did say at the time that the fact that Dortmund didn't have Erling Haaland might have helped them out a bit, because he's such a brilliant player who's now gone to Man City. But the fact they didn't have him, but they still have massive players, and Rangers still went there and scored 4 goals. So they've done a fantastic job. And Braga as well, a decent side, but they managed to beat them. Leipzig, who are 4th in the Bundesliga. So they beat some very good teams to get to the final. And like you said, even if they don't win it, it's been a massive achievement. But I genuinely do think I think Rangers might sneak it. I really do.
Yeah, I think it will be a good final, nevertheless, next week. I'll be good to see all the thing I like about when Scottish teams get to a European final, what's not very often, it's always on TV channels, whereas before they never bother about Scotland. Maybe that's me got my independence hat on now, Grim. And I can speak about it because we're on Andy Live. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be great. There's a lot of folk that will want to watch this game now, because listen, I watch any European final, whoever's in it. But the fact that a Scottish team's in it, it'll be massive, and there'll be a lot of folk watching it that, they're not Rangers fans, but they'll watch it because it's a Scottish team in a European final. So to have that game live on TV will be great. And the same again next week in the Scottish Cup final. It's been shown on, I think, on 2 different channels. So
yeah, Premier Sports and BBC.
Yeah, I mean, I won't be, because I'll be there. So yeah, I'm really excited. I can't wait.
Good. Just a quick word, Graham. Obviously, we'll come back and speak about this in a few weeks' time. Scotland and Ukraine on the 1st of June. Looking forward to that.
I am. I can't wait. I will be honest, I genuinely didn't think this game was going to happen. I really didn't, with all the troubles in Ukraine. And I think something I said as well, that, I mean, see, if Ukraine were playing anybody else, I would want them to win. But because I blame Scotland, I don't. But I'm genuinely really excited. I think Scotland have got a very, very good chance of winning against Ukraine. And if they do, can we beat Wales? I think there's every chance we can. I'm really excited to see what Scotland are going to do. I think Steve Clarke has done a fantastic job. I've said this before. He's done a brilliant job. And if he can, having got to the Euros, if he can get us to the World Cup, I mean, what an achievement that would be. It really would be. And I think Scotland have got a very good chance. That midfield for me, Callum McGregor, player of the year for in Scotland. You got Billy Gilmore and you got John McGinn. That midfield is so good. And I think they can give Ukraine a very, very hard game. I really do.
I think that's the same with the Eurovision Song Contest, Graham, because I don't know if you've been watching the news this week, but apparently Ukraine doesn't have to sing. They're going to win it anyway, just because of what's happening and all that. But so if Eurovision's not your thing, don't worry, because the FA Cup final tomorrow. Just a wee quick word on that, Graham. The FA Cup final tomorrow, and I don't know who you want to win.
Come on, Liverpool!
I think you do. Yeah.
No, I'm excited because this next 3 weeks I've got Liverpool, Chelsea in the FA Cup final tomorrow. My team, Liverpool. I've got Hearts next week in the Scottish Cup final, and the week after that, I've got Liverpool, Real Madrid in the Champions League final. Now, listen, I'm not expecting my teams to win all of those, but see if they do, I'll have a great summer. I really will.
Graham's now going down to the bookies. Now, William Hill is putting a $5 on. Bet responsibly, as they say. So, yeah, coming up next week on the show, we've got a cup final special, Rangers against the Hearts. And then on the 1st of June, we've got Scotland against Ukraine. After the game, a reaction show from 10 until 11:30 on Indy. You've been watching Indy Live, no, you've been listening to Indy Live Radio and watching us live here on Independence Live. Thanks for your comments. Thanks to Graham. As always, nice to be back with you, mate, and we will speak to you again next Friday here on